My name is Jason Jaworska, and I'm the product director for CI/CD here at GitLab. And this is the
My name
kickoff.
is,
Sorry, go ahead.
my name is Dov Ershkovitz, and I'm Senior Product Manager for the Pipeline Authoring Group.
And this is the kickoff for the pipeline authoring team, which is a new team at GitLab. At the moment, it's a non-marketing category that we've got that helps us split out what we're doing across CI, since it's such a large category. And this group in particular is focused on writing pipelines, defining how they work, and what's supposed to happen. And then the continuous integration team that you might be already familiar with is responsible for actually executing those things and interacting with them once an actual pipeline is running. So like you might imagine like filtering pipelines and that sort of thing. So all the issues that we'll talk about today are about writing pipelines, setting them up, and that sort of thing. We'll start over here on the right side of the column with work, the already in development items, which have just started, and then the ready for development items as well. And I'll just go through each of these in a tab here. So the first item is an improvement to our matrix pipelines that we released recently, where you can set up a parallel job, just like is done here. But there's a limitation there in the initial version that we came out, where you have to have a two-dimensional array in order to make the matrix, which is technically true. You have to have, in order for it to be a matrix, you need 2 dimensions. But there's also nice use cases where you just want a job to iterate over a single one-dimensional array. For example, in this case, in the example, it's iterating over just a single list of providers. So what this will do is create a job called deploy stacks GCP and a job called deploy stacks filter, and then run this command for each one. So this is a nice improvement. A few people have asked for this, and it's something that we're pretty excited to get out there just as an easy, quick win improvement. Something that I'm actually personally working on is creating a new dynamic child-parent pipeline template that uses dhaul. We recently released one for JSONnet, which maybe you've seen, that will allow you to use dynamic child pipelines, which is basically just generating your GitLab CI YAML at runtime and then executing it using JSONnet, which is a nice templating language. Dhaul is another really popular one, and so I'll be looking at implementing some kind of basic child-parent pipeline using dhaul that you can use as a customization point to start doing your own pipeline. Allowing our needs directed acyclic graph pipelines to refer to a job in the same stage. So one of the, not arbitrary, I guess, but one of the iterations that we're working forward on the directed acyclic graph is that right now you have to have the jobs refer to only other jobs that are in different stages. So if you have a deploy job that depends on a bunch of build jobs, that totally makes sense, and you can have them relate to each other. But if you're really going all in with the DAG pipelines, you may want to just have one big stage, and then just within that stage have everything refer to each other and just be one big graph all in a stage called like do everything or whatever. Or you may just have within your build stage some things that depend on each other in some order, and they're still all related to the build, so you still want to all put them all in the build stage. But you're not able to do that today. So this will be adding the ability to add a need relationship to another job that's inside the same stage. Rules changes. So we added this rules feature recently, and it just like only accepts, supports changes to files. So you can say, I only want to run this job if there are changes to files in this folder or whatever. And you might use that if you're doing a mono repo or something like that, you could have say only run the pipeline or the job for this component in my mono repo if there are changes in the files for that component. That changes parameter doesn't support variables though. So if we look down here, you can see this would not be possible today where we're using a Helm-dir variable along with a path spec here. So this is going to be adding that so that you can use a variable and then not have to hard code all of your paths in all the cases, which would be nice. This is fixing a bug, but it's a popular one that we wanted to highlight, and it's passing variables from upstream to downstream is not working for dependent variables. So this is just fixing that. It'll make it easier, and it'll make this use case possible. Another really, really nice one that I'm excited about here is supporting multiple artifact sets per a single job. That's actually already possible on the back end if you're using features like code quality you know that one job can actually generate multiple kinds of artifacts. But we don't expose that ability on your own. We only kind of do it on the back end for some of the code quality things. So what we'll do here is add a new CI YAML syntax to support multiple artifact sets independent that can then be uploaded separately, downloaded separately, all coming from a single job. And you might do that, for example, if you have one job that builds like a debug target and a release target in a single case, it can then upload those both separately instead of having, everybody have to download both at once. And there's other similar use cases for that. Triggered pipelines, another feature we've come out recently that we're making nice improvements to. And right now, a triggered pipeline can only run immediately. So if you have a downstream pipeline that you want to start, whether that's in another project, whether it's a dynamic one, whatever kind of downstream pipeline you want to start, it's not possible to put a little play button on it so that it only runs once you press play as part of your pipeline. Supporting one manual on triggered pipelines will add that ability to have those triggered pipelines then only run when you press play. Automatically loading and validating the default config within the CI lint tool. Yeah, this is a really, really nice one that has come up over a long time. We're finally getting around to. So when you open the linter for a project, and I guess it was about 6 months ago, we moved the linter to be inside of the project itself. You just get a blank screen, which is nice if you're just starting with something fresh and you want to start editing. But a lot of times you are wanting to do a customization of your GitLab CI YAML and see if it's going to work or not. So what we're going to do now is automatically load in the GitLab CI YAML for the project and automatically actually do a single validation pass as well. And so when you load up the linter, your GitLab CI YAML will be there if your project has one, and it will automatically show you if there's any errors and what the problems are. So that'll be a nice improvement just to help get you up and running quickly. And if you're editing something from scratch, you can still just paste over what's there, and that's no problem also. Improving the errors during pipeline creation is also something that's been a focus for us. And what this feature is going to do is link to the documentation for any errors that we're showing. We're starting out with just a small subset of the errors that we're going to prove this feature out in this iteration. But then there's 3 follow-up issues, which are part of the epic that's linked to here, which will be going after different classes of errors that we have. And over the next couple of releases, we'll be working through them all and adding links to the documentation. So we hope that, when a pipeline starts and you see some error message, something like this, build job need test is not defined in prior stages. Maybe you know what that means, maybe you don't. But we're going to link now to the documentation to help you understand what that means if you're not sure. And that'll be a nice improvement for anybody who's doing troubleshooting. And then finally, we added lint warnings recently as well. That give you a heads up that something looks odd. It will run, but it's not maybe going to do what you expect. And those were added to the UI, but they were not added to the API yet. So it's just following back on that and adding them back to the API so that if you do an API call for the linter, you get back the warnings there as well, not just the errors. So that's it for pipeline authoring. Overall, our focus has been on just kind of making that time to your first green build easier when you set up a new project and you're just getting your GitLab CI YAML written, running it for the first time, maybe having a couple errors, and then troubleshooting and understanding that. I hope that you can see that all of these things add up to making that process easier and more fun, hopefully even. And yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback. This will continue to be a focus for us over the next few milestones as we're evolving and growing the capabilities of the pipeline authoring component within GitLab. So yeah, hopefully you're excited about these as we are, and thanks for watching.